This is the Stank of the South radio show. I'm Chandler Morrison here on TSSN Online Radio. Today, we talk about the college football playoff. Who should have been in and who should have been out. Also on the slate, we got high school basketball. Central and Brainerd went at it Tuesday night. Central wins. But what does that mean for both of the programs in District 6 AA? And of course, it's that time of the year. No, not Christmas. It's bowl season. So we got to make our picks, and I'm picking every bowl after December 31st when it really matters. Also, we talk about what could have been for Tennessee had they won against Alabama, Oklahoma, and Florida this year in very, very tight games. And they say soccer has taken over the Chattanooga culture, but what sport is it? We'll talk about the Chattanooga sports culture and more on this episode of the Stank of the South radio show. Yeah! Well, welcome to TSSN Radio. I'm Chandler Morrison, live here for the Stank of the South podcast. It's playoff time. No, not NFL. I'm not worried about the NFL right now, honestly. I'm worried about the college football playoff. And if, you know, with this 4-team format we have right now, I love the way it is, okay? And by the way, I know that some people are like, I'm not sure about this playoff. I don't like it. And if you're one of those people, you know what? You just don't need to. You just need to go off on your own world, and you just need to deal with it because I think it's going to stay for a while. I don't think we'll ever go back to the original system, which was very, very iffy at best. BCS was very iffy. And I think where this 4-team playoff gets it right is this. This is where they get it right. Now, some years, I'm looking at the top 25 right now, okay? Some years, yeah, there's a little bit of there's going to be a little bit where the what I'm going to call this tier line, okay? The tier line, in my terms, is where this group of teams has separated themselves from the rest of the country. Okay? And what I mean by that is where they separate themselves from the rest of the country, like Clemson has separated themselves, Alabama has separated themselves, Michigan State, Oklahoma, Iowa, Stanford. The tier line is after Stanford. I'm not crazy about Iowa being in there in this top tier, but I think right now, looking back, they're in this tier. Okay? So, when you look at it from my perspective, yeah, I think the tier line stops at Stanford. So an 18 playoff wouldn't be out of the question. And here's why. Here's why an 18 playoff wouldn't be out of the question for me. Because when you look at the top 8 teams this year, let's go Clemson, number 1, Alabama, number 2, Michigan State, number 3, Oklahoma, number 4. Good. Top 4 seeds. Iowa, number 5, Stanford, number 6, Ohio State, number 7, and Notre Dame, number 8. I'm all right with Ohio State and Notre Dame being in the top 8, okay? And I'm all right. If we had an 18 playoff this year, I would be completely all right with that. And here's why. Because Notre Dame, Ohio State always get this thing on their back. Well, you don't play tough opponents. Well, you don't do this, blah, 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 blah. Well, maybe Notre Dame doesn't. They get to play whoever they want to, and I'm not going to bag their schedule because I don't have it right on me right now, so I can't look at it and say, they did a horrible job, or they did a good job, or they did a bad job, or something to that effect. But I think when you look at it as a whole, I think Notre Dame has a little bit softer schedule. I think if they played in the Big Ten instead of being independent or had a contract with the Big Ten like they do with ACC, it might be a little bit better. But looking at this, I'm all right with it because Notre Dame and Ohio State are constantly these two teams that everybody, every year, they're like, well, we deserve a chance. And I apologize today, by the way. My voice is not the best. And I don't know what. I've got something in my throat. So if I cough a little bit, if I have to get a drink of water or something like that, that's why. Don't hate me. But Ohio State and Notre Dame are constantly these teams, and Iowa even. Iowa, they're constantly this team that they're like, oh, we don't get a chance. We don't get a chance. We can't get in the playoff. We can't get in the national championship because no one ever gives us a chance. We get right there, and no one ever gives us a chance. That's why I like the 18 playoff because, by the way, 16-team playoff, no. Absolutely not. Okay? I'm going down this list right now. 16-team playoff. I'm not all right with Oklahoma State and Oregon and Michigan and Northwestern all getting a shot at the national championship. I don't like a 3-loss team getting a chance for the national championship. Okay. Now, if I'm a fan of that team, yeah, I would like that, but no, I'm not. Overall, I'm not a fan of that. So 16-team playoff out. Okay. As much as I hate to say it, I would love to see. Actually, you know what? I would love to see a 9-3 team go off and knock off everybody. But I don't think it's fair to a team like Clemson, who's the top, who has to play. You know, they go through, and a 16-team playoff, let's see, that would be 8 games. Okay, so they would have to play 1, 2, 3 rounds before they got to the national championship. And say someone knocks off, say North Carolina went on a run. Okay, say we have a 16-team playoff. North Carolina went on a run, okay, and they had some easier teams. Clemson gets to the end, they've had to play some easier teams, but North Carolina gets that game. That's not fair to Clemson. I think 14 playoff is good for now. I think ultimately they're going to have to go to an 18 playoff, and I don't want them to go past an 18 playoff. Because if they do, it'll turn into March Madness. And everybody's looking at me like, what? What are you talking about? I think right now, the top 16 teams in this country, I think the top 8, top 6 could beat them. But I'm thinking if you put the top 16 teams in all in one bracket, there's a pretty good chance that someone down the line is going to make an upset, okay? And maybe it's not your number 1 team, but maybe it's one of your top 4 teams. They get an upset against them. I don't like a 16-team playoff. I don't. FCS, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with the 16-team playoff because really, we don't get into FCS as much as we do FBS. And I think if we do FBS, and like I say, no matter how far you expand this thing, you can expand it to 64 teams in college football, and people would still look at you like, okay, what about number 65? Do they not deserve to get in the playoff? So it doesn't really matter how many teams. There's always going to be, if you do an 18 playoff, there's always going to be, well, who was 9 and 10? They didn't get to go in. They didn't get to go in. They look like they should go in. And right now, Stanford. Stanford is a team that should be in the top 4. I'm full on Stanford right now. I'm not. And by the way, I'm not one of these bandwagon fans of Stanford. I just think they deserve to be in there. I think they deserve to be right in that top 4. Now, I think they're on that tier with Clemson, Alabama, Michigan State, Oklahoma. I think they're at that tier. But I think the way the cards fell this year, it always falls against Stanford. I think. The cards always fall against Stanford. And that's just how it happens. And talking about this top 25 that I'm looking at right now, I think the top 4 teams. And let me tell you something. When we talk about college football playoff, I think Stanford should be in the top 4. And I know that. And people are looking at me like, I don't know about that. I think they should. The Pac-12 is more competitive than what you put it out to be. Okay? And Stanford is going to match up against anybody they play, and they're just going to pound the ball. They're going to pound the ball. You're going to pound you into submission. I remember I was watching them one night. I think it was against Oregon. And they were up like 35-something. I can't remember what the score was. They were up by a lot. And they just pounded the ball, pounded the ball, pounded the ball, pounded the ball. You know what they did? They got in their elephant formation, which is their big guys. Okay? In an I formation, that's all they did. All they did. They did a few plays here and there that weren't, but that's all they did. Don't tell me running the ball can't win you championships. In college football, it can. If you run the ball, you're going to win. If you can run the ball, if you got a really, really good running back and a solid line, you're going to win. Okay? You have to be really, really good at the passing game and have a decent line to win with the passing game. But running game, it's a lot easier to win with the running game. They just pound the ball. Michigan State, same way. They pound the ball. I think last year that Stanford and Michigan State played, I believe? I'm going to check that real quick. I think it was last year that Michigan State and Stanford played. And by the way, it was last year, 2014 Rose Bowl. Stanford and Michigan, number 5, number 4 teams in the country, they got to play each other. Or no, that's not right. I think it was numbers 5 and 6. I'm looking at this right now. That was back in 2014, excuse me. That was January 1st, 2014, so that was 2 years ago they played. And it was and I believe the score in that one, 24-20, which is low scoring in college football. And you got 2 running teams, it's going to be about 24-20. That's about how it's going to stack. You know, it's very rare you get a very defensive game anyway. I remember the 9-6 Alabama LSU game, 9-6. LSU wins in overtime. I remember watching that game and thinking, wow, I love defensive games. But I only watched the fourth quarter and the overtime. Now, if I'd watched the whole game, by the time that got to it, my parents were like, I'm tired of watching this game. It's such a slugfest. I love watching slugfest. I love those anomalies. I do. But who is the dark horse? I have to say that the dark horse in this one is probably Alabama. I think they can win it. And why do I think they can win it? The reason I think they can win it is because of one thing and one thing only. And that is because Nick Saban knows how to run a program.
Well, I say the same thing as when you all buried us last week, all right, and all that it really doesn't matter what you think. All right, it really doesn't matter what you say. And I'm hoping that nobody on our team is playing for you. I hope they're playing for each other and their team and what they want to accomplish and not what you think. All right, because that's not certainly what I'm doing.
Nick Saban, as much as the media hates Nick Saban, I have to say I like Nick Saban. And here's the reason I like Nick Saban. The reason I like Nick Saban, even as a Tennessee fan, the reason I like Nick Saban is because he knows how to run a program. When he says he has a process, he has a process. He has a process in place. And as you look across the board, who's been the most successful program? And I think the dynasty's over for them. They had 3 national championships in 4 years. I think the dynasty is over for Nick Saban, but I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. I think he's going to be one of these teams that sticks around, that you go and you're like, I think this year's one of their years. And it's going to continue to be that as long as Nick Saban is there. Every 2 or 3 years he's going to win a national championship just because he's got to keep a job. And not to say that's his main motivation. He loves the game. But that's going to be one of the things you're going to see. He loves his job. He's going to keep doing that. Every 2 or 3 years he's going to win one. Or he's going to be right there at it. He may lose a national championship, but he's going to win one. And I think this year they're a dark horse. Because when you look at what he said to the media right there, he doesn't care what the media says. And if a coach cares what the media says, that's red flag number 1. Okay? Red flag number 1 for me. If I talk to a coach and he wonders what I think, what the media thinks about his team, that's a red flag right there. They're not going to win most of the time. 90% of the time they're not going to win because they're caring too much about what the media thinks, what people outside the team think. When what really matters, you ask me, is what you're doing in that locker room, what you're doing outside, what you're doing to make a difference. That's what you got to do. And that's what Nick Saban does perfectly. Now, swapping gears over to Clemson. Clemson, I think, is and if Alabama is the underdog in this top four, Clemson is the overachiever. Okay, I think Clemson is the top dog. I believe that 13-0 in an ACC, which I give the ACC more credit than I probably should. It's a little bit of a weaker conference, I will say, than the SEC or the Big Ten, but it's right on par with them, I would say, right below the bar. It's not 6 feet under. It's right below the bar. And so I think Clemson deserves that 13-0 ranking. I do. And here's a little bite from Dabo Swinney. He was talking at the press conference for the College Football Playoff, and I love the way he goes about things. Take a listen.
And that's kind of the way it's been for us. But, there's no question Clemson belongs. I mean, we've been as consistent as anybody out there in the country. And then you got to be able to step out of your conference and win big-time games. And we've been able to do that. So that's what I said this morning on the radio show. I said, we're kind of that redneck that moved into a nice neighborhood, and everybody's going, where'd you come from? But these guys belong right where they are, and they've earned it.
The redneck that moves into the neighborhood. That's why I love Dabo Swinney. He's one of these guys that he's real with you. When you talk to him, he's real with you. And no, I haven't interviewed him for a game or anything like that. But I will say it's very interesting to watch him on film and watch him talk in an interview because he knows what he's doing. He loves to say these things that catch people's eyes, and that's what a coach should do for the media. Now, in Nick Saban's case, when they pester you every single day, and when you're that successful all the time and they pester you, have a little fun with them, with yourself. Have a little fun with yourself and give them a hard time. That was back in October when Nick Saban said that. October 5th press conference. That's when that press conference from Nick Saban was. Dabo Swinney, he's one of the good coaches. And he talked about earlier in this interview that Clemson is a team. He came and wanted to build a program. He didn't want to build a good team. He wanted to build a good program. And it sounds cliche. It does. But that's what your mindset has to be as a coach. Everybody's like, I want to win a national championship. He'd care less about winning a national championship. I think he would rather have 10-2 for 5 years than win one national championship and go 5-6 the rest of the time. He'd rather go 10-2 every year. Now, right now, he's 13-0. With a 10-2 team, you're just a little bit away every time you look around. You're just a little bit away every time you turn around. So he wins a game. He has a player or two go his way. He's in the national championship or in the playoff now. A few years ago, he'd have been in the national championship. That's just how it goes. That's just how it goes. And I'm going to take a little break right here. I'm going to play music for you. You get to play it last week with Sean Cooley in the studio. This is Snakes in the Grass, Sean Cooley, a brand new one. This is actually the one, in case you were listening last week, this is actually the one he presented in his hip-hop class before the girl thought he was from Southern Alabama. So here's Snakes in the Grass, Sean Cooley.
Murder till you learn to be concerned that I'm rapping around these rappers like a hula hoop. Gonna make it, don't believe that. Sleep, think, eat, drink, breathe, rap. If you cut my veins open, I would bleed rap. Sorry for the wait, I finally got myself a steam back. Now they really don't want it, I'm so potent, I might blow. Cause my flow froze under my guy to find cold. I rhyme define, but inside I'm psycho. Trying to walk the line, but I walk on a tightrope. You the hardest, now that was a typo. Take you the lead type, I'm when I flow. All in, chips down the way with life fold. See my pockets getting fatter, I may need lipo. I'm just playing, I be broke. I'm just really trying to sell just so I can stay afloat. They just wanna see me drown. We ain't on the same boat, a bunch of knock-knock rappers. I'm mistaken for a joke. Hey, shoulda aimed high. Trying to shoot me down, they don't quit your day job. Word, is that the rule we play by? Snake in the grass, I'd heard it through the grapevine. They say that life is what you make it. I'm just trying to make it last. Got my foot matched to the throttle. Ain't no way I'll let it pass. I've seen way too many futures be affected by the past. past. I know they be gunning for me. I know they don't have a chance. I know them snakes in the grass. I know them snakes in the grass. I know them snakes in the grass. You want attention and cash, you'll need one of those last. Nah. Yeah. What's a pawn to a king? What's a king to a divine being? Don't intervene, don't speak, bow down, put your lips to my ring. I see these rappers need a hand and steady bow to my feet. I know it's hard to compete, cause I'm rock solid, Dwayne Johnson, who be bold. The stoners vibe to a white dude who be sober. I'm the one to be up next, man, I thought that you told them. Cause they rock with me and they stuck me, but they be riding up the block with me, going above 50. You feel it, I'm on the rise, an independent hip-hop enigma. Are you surprised I'm not taking what I am giving? I'm sick and tired of not having the pot to pissin'. I'm an anomaly, but not optimistic. Wide eyes on my climb to the top, I'm nearer because the top percentile requires a fish. Whoa, bro, hey, could you slow it down? I took my seat up on the throne, you cannot hold my crown. My flow's cracking the trap, it's the doper sound. Yo, they was laughing at me, funny how they notice now. And I'ma come up fast, fake rappers get smoked. Puff, pass, y'all don't even pull tricks, so I put you on blast. They ain't ready, stay checking for the snakes in the grass. Life is what you make it, I'm just trying to make it last. Got my foot mashed to the throttle, ain't no way I'll let it pass. I've seen way too many futures be affected by the past. I know they be gunning for me, I know they don't have a chance. I know them snakes in the grass. I know them snakes in the grass. I know them snakes in the grass. You want attention and cash, you'll need one of those last. Nah.
And we're back here on the Stank of the South radio show here on TSSN Radio. And golly, Sean Cooley, just a master of the mic. I'll tell you that right now. And sometimes I wonder where great talent comes from. And I don't know where his talent came from, but he's definitely got it. He definitely has the talent. And, my phone's on. I better turn that off before I disturb y'all on the radio here. And we're talking a little bit about high school basketball. And I had to notice that Central and Brainerd played Tuesday night. And I didn't get to go to that game, but RCS insider Eric Sisson, and I believe John Neal was there. I'm not sure. I could never tell if he's at a game or not via Twitter. He's a sneaky little son of a gun. He's always here, there, this and that, blah, blah, blah. With that game, you have to look over and you have to say, wow, these are two great teams. Both of them made it to the state championship last year, by the way. And that's not what they're worried about, I know. But it is something that you need to look at as a fan. And it really, really boosts those programs. And Coach Rick Rogers has boosted Central so much over the years. And he had last year, he had one senior, I believe. And I'm not qualified to speak on Central. I will say that. So if I butcher a few things or say something wrong, get some facts wrong, I'm sorry. But I felt like they needed to be talked about on radio. And Central is one of these teams that you look over and you're thinking they got to be a state championship team. They have to be. They have to be a state championship team. That's just how it is. And, when you look over and you look at the gap in 3A, by the way, there is a 3A gap in basketball as well, okay? I talked a couple weeks ago about the one in football, okay? And I have to say, and by the way, if you're listening live on the radio, I do have cameras here in the studio today, so we will have a video broadcast later this week. Should be Thursday, Friday, not sure yet, depending on how everything goes. But I do want to say that the Central is a team that you have to look at and you have to say, when are they going to get a state championship? And when you look at the gap, okay, last year I went to state basketball tournament, okay? And the gap was big last year, okay? Now, I've noticed a few players have swapped places. I know CPA, there was a player or two that left, went somewhere else. It's outside Tennessee, I believe, or at least not until OSAA. So there's a pretty good chance that if Central does their job and they get to the state tournament, they were last year. Anytime you get to the state tournament for the first time in a while, it's gonna pound your head in because you're gonna be like, oh man. I remember as a journalist, that's the first time I'd ever been to this basketball state tournament, and I was just like, oh, man. Van Buren County, first time in the state tournament last year. Oh, man. Oh, man. Kidding me. It's amazing to me that when you get to the state championship for the first time, you're just like in awe and you can't focus. That's your whole goal. That is your whole goal for the season. You get to the state championship, you're like, I take the ball and I shoot it, right? Right? It amazes me. But I'm at the state tournament last year, I will say. And I have to say that talking about Brainerd and Central, the gap was not big. I don't think they got beat by a lot. I think it was like 10, 12, something points like that. I don't care. The gap was not a huge gap. And with some players moving around, I think Central or Brainerd could meet up 6 times in a season. 5 times in a season. Because they meet up twice in the season. They could meet up twice in district. They could meet up once in district, once in regions. And if it happens again, they could meet up again in state, depending on how the cards fall. And if they met up in the state championship game, holy crap. Holy crap. By the way, Chattanooga basketball has grown, okay? Not just on the high school level, but on the college level. They have grown so exponentially. The girls' side of Chattanooga basketball, the Lady Mocs, they've been a force to reckon with these past few years. I think they're taking a little bit of a step back. I don't think they're taking a huge step back, but they're taking a little bit of a step back. And eventually I think they're one of these teams right now that's a mid-major in the women's basketball. Definitely. Okay, mid-major, no doubt, and they could make a run eventually in the women. It's hard to make a run in the women's basketball game because talent is key in women's basketball. It's not about the process as much. I think if you have talent, you can win. Look at Brittany Griner when she was at Baylor. Look at Maya Moore when she was at UConn. You have to have talent to win, and Chattanooga has talent. Don't get me wrong, but it's not on the caliber of UConn. It's not on the caliber of UConn. And I'll say this too. Men's basketball doing a great job. Shout out to Greg Pryor, by the way. I had him in my Media Writing 2 class here at UTC. On leading that team, I think it was against, I can't remember what team it was. I think it was Davidson. He led them against Davidson, and he led in points. They beat a mid-major, and they beat Georgia, by the way. In case you missed that, earlier in the season, it kind of got overblown. It kind of got blown over because of football and all that. They beat Georgia, a solid basketball team. They beat Georgia, okay? And we'll see how solid they are once ACC play gets in. But I think when you look across the board, Bledsoe County, what did I say Bledsoe County for? When I looked across the board, Chattanooga. So I was reading something on here, and I said Bledsoe County. I don't know why. I apologize. But Chattanooga was one of these schools where basketball is king. Football is king. And the sports culture across everything, we'll talk about that later. But I think when you talk about basketball, it's definitely growing in the city. And I think today's theme is how is everything growing in Chattanooga? How are the sports cultures growing in Chattanooga? That's what you got to look at. And so I do want to talk about this Central Brainerd game. I have to. I'm fixing to look at the box score here. And not that I hadn't before, but Central won 44-37. Okay. Both of these teams, they play in tournaments. Both of these teams, they play in holiday tournaments. Excuse me. The talent on both sides. The talent on both sides. Sorry, 75-65. I was reading the girls' box score. That's my bad, folks. It amazes me how much talent is on both of these teams. Ryan Montgomery, okay, not even the top scorer for Central, and he's supposed to be the big man. Teron Hayes with 21 points. Emmanuel Lane with 19. Ryan Montgomery comes in at 13. And this team across the board is one of the better teams is a good team across the board. Okay? Across the board, it's excellent. Brainerd, a little bit more of a two-man show with Jesse Walkers and Malik Beavers and Tay Ross. Three-man show, I'll say. But Central's got a complete package. Not that Brainerd doesn't. They can win with three guys. You can win with three guys. If you have three really, really good, solid players, you can win with them. But I think Central across the board is a little bit more set because they only lost one senior. So looking at that, yeah, it's going to be a great rivalry to watch. And I can't wait to see the next one. I'm actually considering going and watching that game because I don't do a lot of, Central, Brainerd, out toward that area. I don't do a lot of those games. I don't do a lot of them. I'm just more of a Valley guy, more East Chattanooga. Or no, not East Chattanooga, West Chattanooga. Sorry, I get mixed up with my directions a lot. I don't get to do it a lot. Ryan Montgomery is going to have a career year, I think. And I think Chattanooga is going to have a career year in basketball. That's just how it's going to be. With high school basketball, it's going to be a career year. Van Buren County also. You got those two teams. You got Van Buren County vying for a spot. And by the way, District 7AA, I think it's going to be down this year. Notre Dame's still a solid team. Notre Dame may be able to contend with Central, Brainerd. Okay, I don't know if they're on the schedule. They were last year. Notre Dame played Central. We'll have to see how that goes. But if they can get past, I think District 7AA is going to be more competitive, and they can get past District 8AA to play Central, to play Brainerd. And so we may not see. And if Notre Dame goes on a good run, if one of these teams from Chattanooga goes on a good run, like Chattanooga Central, Sequatchie County, if they have an excellent year and go on a great run, guess what? They might get past Central or Brainerd. Not saying that's going to happen. Right now, Central is my favorite to get to the state championship or get to the state tournament, Brainerd is my second. Notre Dame is my third. Okay, CCS, Sequatchie County are down, way down. Okay, in 3A, in AA. Talking about low A, I got Van Buren County going in. I think Whitwell's going to be a team to reckon with at the end of the season. Mark my words, Whitwell will be a team to reckon with at the end of the season. They are improving more and more by the day. They're improving more daily than I've seen of any team in the Sequatchie Valley, in that district. Do I think they'll win the district? Do I think they'll win the region? No, but I think they'll be in that top four. I think they can get that top four spot as the season goes on. Now, they'll have to do a playing game. They'll have to play more games than usual in the postseason, but I think they can get a top four spot. Richard Hardy is a little bit out there, okay? They're a good team. No one's talking about Richard Hardy. And I hadn't got to see them play a game, but I've seen the scores. I've seen where, the preseason coaches meeting, they had a lot of teams on there. They were picked 4th or 5th in that region, in that district. I think if they beat Sell Creek, if they beat Lookout Valley, they can be one of these teams that can contend with Van Buren County. Because right now it's a one-horse district. Van Buren County is at the top. And I think they will be at the top until someone dethrones them. Until someone dethrones Van Buren, they'll be at the top. And I keep using the wrong keyboard here because I'm wanting to look at Van Buren's schedule. Sorry for a second. I have to focus there. I'll take 15 minutes to top 2-3 words. But talking about the boys basketball team last year, state championship. I don't really like to talk about that because it's a little bit of a run. Right now, last year they couldn't win 6 straight games. They could not win 6 straight games. Van Buren County couldn't. Okay, right now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Count them. 7 straight wins. They're 8-2 on the season, 5-0 in the district, going into the Christmas tournament. Okay. Now they played Bledsoe County, beat them pretty handily, which is not saying much. Bledsoe County's a rebuilding team. The other two that were supposed to be at the top, Lookout Valley, Sale Creek, they've got them. They've got Marion County coming right out of their break on January 5th, and I think that'll be a great matchup at Marion County. And we'll see where Marion County stands because Marion County's been quiet. They haven't got to play a lot of games. They played Sale Creek. They played South Pittsburgh. Beat them 93-77. I think it'll be a good matchup. Logan Walters coming from Stevenson, Alabama, by the way. Stevenson, Alabama coming back. Massengill, a good player, good, tall, lanky player. I'm not saying lanky, but good, tall basketball player. And they've got some other people out there that are going to be good players, and they're coming from this football team that had so much success and went to the state championship. Chattanooga Central is who they play in the Best of Preps tournament, December 26th, Saturday. Not this Saturday, but the Saturday after Christmas, they play Chattanooga Central. So I want to see that game. Honestly, if I had to be put on a game, I want to see that game because that game, if Marion County is worth their dirt, then they'll play pretty good with Central. And like I said, they host Van Buren County after the holiday break. Okay. And Van Buren County, another game you'll have to watch out for in the postseason is Van Buren County and CSAS. They do not play them in the season that I can see right now, but that'll be a good game to watch, okay? And you'll kind of gauge that. Marion County does play CSAS. So you'll be able to gauge, is Van Buren County better than Marion County? Or are they better than CSAS? We'll see where everything stands, but right now they're being dominant. They've not had a game yet where they've scored. They've only had one game where they scored under 60. And that was a loss. That was 53-A2 to Jackson County, which is a very, very, very good team. But that's enough right now for Sequatchie Valley basketball, for basketball in general. We're going to take a break here. And what will we choose? We've got Eye for an Eye here by Last of the Wild Man. This is a group. They're from Cleveland. I think they're somewhere in Ohio. Cleveland, Ohio, I want to say. Don't quote me on this. Very, very good music group. I got to listen to them live before they got as big as they are now. They're still not big, but I think they're on that way. Hope they don't mind me playing this. This is Eye for an Eye by Last of the Wild Man. Enjoy.
Sing me something sweet and soft. Please turn the TV off, 'cause I can't take it anymore. When everyone around is crying out for blood, they wanna soak their hands in it, then raise them up to God above. How did everything get so dumbed down? I fear there's nothing left to separate us now. Hear the battle cry, an eye for an eye. You scream, convert or die. Which side are you on? 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 Protect the innocent when it's convenient, but you've already lost your head. And everyone around is sipping from the cup. No amount of blood they spill will satisfy the empty lust. I fear there's nothing left to separate us now. Hear the battle cry, an eye for an eye. You scream, convert or die. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Hear the battle cry, an eye for an
And welcome back to TSSN Radio. I'm Chandler Morrison here, host of the Stank of the South radio show, talking about Tennessee football. But first, we're going to get to these bowl picks. Okay, and I'm going after December 30th with all my bowl picks because I think those are the ones that matter come next year. Who wins this, who wins that, blah, blah, blah. So going down the list, starting with the Birmingham Bowl. It's at noon, December 30th. Memphis versus Auburn. I've got Auburn. Memphis, I don't think they're worth their dirt. And not to say they're a bad team. They're a really, really good team. But in the American Conference, they're a really good team. That's the problem. And I hadn't seen them play, and they did beat Ole Miss. They did beat Ole Miss, by the way. And so I kind of have to go with Auburn here just because SEC, but I wouldn't be surprised if Memphis upset the Tigers, who probably expected something else this year and expected to go outside the state for a bowl game. And Auburn will have the fans there. So I think leaning toward Auburn, but I wouldn't be surprised either way. Final pick, Auburn. Next, we got the Belk Bowl. And by the way, these bowl names, I hate these bowl names sometimes. Don't do a brand. If you did the Coca-Cola Bowl, maybe something like that. But the Belk, no. I think a bowl name should be something. The Fiesta, Citrus, Rose, Sugar, Liberty, not the Tax Slayer, not the Belk. The Cactus Bowl, that's a good name. Alamo Bowl, that's a good name. Belk, no. Outback, maybe. Kind of. I don't like the names. Anyway, we're going to the Music City Bowl. That's at 7 p.m. on December 30th. Nashville, Tennessee, Louisville, and that's inside Nissan Stadium, the newly renovated stadium. The Music City Bowl. Louisville versus Texas A&M. I got Texas A&M. Louisville, pretty good team. I just don't think they're going to hold their dirt against Texas A&M. Texas A&M, of course, had a down year. They've kind of been quiet this year, honestly. Hadn't seen them around a lot. Just kind of stayed out of everything. And they kind of have been since Manziel left for the pros. That's kind of how they've been. I wouldn't be surprised if Louisville, though, they take the win. I think you're kind of seeing like the mid-majors of football going against these SEC teams. The Belk Bowl, I'm going back to that. I forgot about that one. December 30th, 3:30 p.m., Charlotte, North Carolina. And I'm going to go with Mississippi State against NC State. I'm going to go with Mississippi State. SEC power. I think Dak Prescott is going to have too much for NC State. And NC State's been quiet this year. And they've not really made any noise. So I'm going to say Mississippi State in that one. So we got Auburn, Mississippi State, Texas A&M winning. Actually, Louisville winning. I'm going to pick Louisville. That's going to be an upset win, but I'm going to pick Louisville. Holiday Bowl. Wisconsin versus Southern California, USC. San Diego, California. This is a tough one. USC, kind of up and coming. But I have to go because I don't like USC. And that has nothing to do with how they are as a program. I just don't like USC as a football program at all, the way they're winning. By the way, that's in San Diego, 10:30 p.m., December 30th. Full slate of games on December 30th. I think Wisconsin's going to get the win there. If nothing else, because they're Big Ten and they've had one of the toughest slates this year, and it's tougher than the Pac-12. Peach Bowl, Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. I work for Chick-fil-A, so we've been promoting that one pretty wildly. December 31st at noon, Atlanta, Georgia. Houston versus Florida State. Florida State. I got to go Florida State on this one. Houston, I think, could win. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. You know, and I've not been following college football as much as I should this season, so I haven't been keeping up with some of the lower echelon teams, the lower high echelon teams, which is like the mid-majors of college football. I haven't been keeping up with them as much as I should. Houston could get the win, but you know what? I'm going to go with Houston. I'm going to go with Houston over Florida State just because I like Houston. I always wanted to see them succeed. Orange Bowl. Clemson versus Oklahoma, December 31st, 4 p.m. at Miami Gardens, Florida. What are they going to do if Miami gets in to the college football playoff here in a few years with Mark Ricks there, and they get to the Orange Bowl for the playoffs? Be deja vu again because they get to play in their own field for the Orange Bowl. Right there in Miami. That'll be cool. I'm not going to lie. That'll be cool because you don't really say that a lot. But Orange Bowl, Clemson versus Oklahoma, I've got to go with Clemson. I don't think Oklahoma's this is a tough one. This is one of the toughest ones on there. Okay. So, here's the deal. Here's who I'm going to go with, okay? I'm going to go with Oklahoma over Clemson. Yes, I am. The ACC has not proven to me yet that they are a solid conference. They haven't proven that to me yet. Oklahoma, Big 12, pretty solid conference. More offensive, but pretty solid conference. I've got Oklahoma over Clemson. You heard it first on here. I've got Oklahoma over Clemson. That's 4 p.m., Miami Gardens, the Orange Bowl, on December 31st. Part of the college football playoff. Cotton Bowl, December 31st, excuse me. The other one's 31st too. At 8 p.m. later that night, Arlington, Texas for the Cotton Bowl. We got Alabama and Michigan State going at it. This isn't simple for me. Everybody's like, I don't know how this. Da, 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 da. You know, I think that Michigan State will take it. But Alabama can too, and that's the fun about college football is you never know who's going to win, and anybody can win on any given day. That's the way I see it. If I had to go with a final pick, I'm going to go with Alabama because I think they're the dark horse here. I think Nick Saban's going to pick it up, and he's going to say, look, this is my old team. I want to beat them. Boom, done. Let's play Oklahoma in the national championship like it should be. I think Alabama gets it. Outback Bowl, January 1st at noon, Tampa, Florida. Home of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's where they're playing. Northwestern versus Tennessee. As a Tennessee fan, I have to look at this and say, Tennessee's going to win it, but Northwestern's number 12, and they play in the Big Ten. So, this is going to be a toss-up. This is going to be a close game. This is going to be closer than a lot of people are thinking. Everybody thinks Tennessee, and they're playing Northwestern. Everybody looks at Northwestern, they're going, Northwestern? That Northwestern? Northwestern? What? No. We're going to beat them. Number 12th ranked Northwestern? Yeah. I think it'll be a 34-35 matchup. Tennessee is going to lose. Mark my words, I'm a Tennessee fan. I don't want them to lose, but I think the way it's going, they're going to lose that game. What better motivation to lose your last game and then take that loss against a team you never should have been in a ball game with and take that in the offseason? They'll lose, but it's going to be good for them. I promise you. Fiesta Bowl, 1 p.m. in Glendale, Arizona. All right, so, and I don't know what that was. Notre Dame versus Ohio State. This is the wannabes. This is the wannabes of college football. These are the ones that say we don't ever get a chance. You never put us in there. Play each other. See who should get the chance. And if this were any other year, this would be a playing game. Okay, I think that if we had a playing game to college football, we had a 16 playoff, or we had a 7. If we had an 18 playoff, we had playoff games. We had it seeded. This will be a playing game. This would be the first round playing game. This would be one of the most anticipated playing games of the century. I've got Notre Dame. I like Notre Dame better than I do Ohio State. I don't like either of them, honestly. And they're both having to go from the Midwest all the way to Arizona. I think it's hilarious. But I think I've got Notre Dame in this one. I'm trying to hurry it up because I know I got some other topics I want to talk about. Michigan versus Florida in the Citrus Bowl. I got Michigan. I like Michigan. I don't like Florida in this one. Florida, I don't think they're there yet. I don't think they're that team. Orlando, Florida, 1 p.m., January 1st. The Rose Bowl, Pasadena, California. Stanford versus Iowa. Stanford versus Iowa. This is a matchup that I know Stanford is going to win. Stanford's going to win. That's point blank, period. That's it. That's what's going to happen. Okay. Stanford is going to beat Iowa. Iowa thinks they're big shots. They're not. They play some non-competitive teams. They try to schedule these. They dial up wins, that kind of thing. So, I think I got Stanford in that one. 5 p.m. Pasadena, California. Sugar Bowl, New Orleans, Louisiana. 8:30 p.m. on January 1st. Oklahoma State versus Ole Miss. I've got Oklahoma State. Ole Miss, I think they're falling off. They didn't want to be there. That wasn't their goal this season to be there. I think their goal was to be in the college football playoff, and that didn't happen for them. I think Oklahoma State's going to take advantage of that because Oklahoma State probably wasn't expecting to be where they are right now. And you go down all these bowl games and say, who wants to be there? Who wants to be there? Who wants to be there? Who wants to win? That's the person that's going to win. Okay? Comes down, do you want to be there? Do you want to play? Tax Slayer Bowl, Penn State versus Georgia. This one's tough. Georgia doesn't have Mark Richt. I think Kirby is going to be there coaching that game. Tough. I think Penn State's going to take a quick one over Georgia. I do. With Penn State being up on the up now, and they took Vandy's head coach a little bit back. I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. I'm out of it today. I can't remember his name, but I know that Penn State's head coach is ready for him. Kansas State versus Arkansas in the Liberty Bowl in Memphis, Tennessee. Arkansas. Kansas State, they're quiet this year. Arkansas at least had a little bit of noise in the SEC before they flopped over. I think Arkansas is going to win it. The Alamo Bowl, San Antonio, Texas, 6:45 p.m., the most specific of the times we've had. In San Antonio, Texas, Oregon versus TCU. I got TCU. I like a physical TCU Texas-style team against Oregon. I just don't. I'm just not a fan of Oregon. I'm not a fan of the flashy this, that, ball. I think they've got Oregon's number. Cactus Bowl, West Virginia versus Arizona State. West Virginia versus Arizona State. Arizona State takes it. In Phoenix, Arizona, with all the fans, they take it. In the national championship, I can't determine who's going to be there, but I can say that I'm going to predict that Oklahoma upsets Clemson, Alabama wins against Michigan State, and it's an Oklahoma-Alabama matchup in the national championship. That's my pick. That is my pick. So there's my college football bowl season picks. Whether it's boring, whether it's not, those are my picks. So we're going to talk about Tennessee for a minute. And I want to say this. I'm going to keep this short and simple because I don't like to elaborate on a lot of things. But I think if Tennessee wins against Arkansas, wins against Alabama, Florida, Oklahoma, they're not in the college football playoff with one loss against Arkansas. I think if they went and they won the SEC championship, yes, they would be there. But I think they would lose the SEC championship because you know how Nick Saban is with revenge games, especially against a Tennessee team that he has never lost to, and against a Tennessee team that he absolutely despises, and against a Tennessee team that never should have been in the ballgame with them in that first game where they lost 19-14. They wouldn't win the SEC championship. And everybody's saying, oh, Tennessee's a play away in every game from going into the college football playoff. There's one game that was one play away, and that was this game against Oklahoma. Here's the call by ESPN.
If you're Josh Dobbs, you're thinking, let's get at least half this yardage. We've got 2 downs to get another first down here.
Ethan Wolf, the tight end, in motion on 3rd down and 12. Dobbs sets, fires, intercepted, and it's over. Oklahoma comes from behind and upsets what looked like a sure win for Tennessee.
And just like that, a season is over. Now, let's say Oklahoma loses to Tennessee, who goes to the SEC championship. Is Oklahoma still in? No, Stanford's in over Oklahoma, I think. Tennessee wins, Stanford's in. If that's the only other game they win, Stanford's in. Now, Tennessee goes undefeated, beats Oklahoma. Oklahoma's in. Oklahoma's in. Oh, definitely. Oklahoma's in. Tennessee's in. Oklahoma's in. Clemson's in. Michigan State's in. Alabama. Whoop. You just got kicked out the club, buh. Got kicked out the club. Now, and I think what you have to look at is, what would Tennessee's chances be against Michigan State? Pretty slim. Pretty slim, because Michigan State's going to pound the ball. Not that Tennessee's not physical, not that Tennessee couldn't handle that, but I think it would be very, very hard to justify Tennessee winning against Michigan State. I think it's hard for anybody to go against Michigan State, and the only people that could do it is Alabama, because Alabama, in games where they don't have to, in games where the other team doesn't pass the ball a lot, they can win. When the other team, when the other team passes a lot, they can win. Or they can't win. They can't keep up with the spread, new style play. Michigan State don't have a new spread style play. They're going to pound Michigan State in submission. I may eat my words, but I think that's the way it's going to go. Honestly, looking at it. And now we're going to go to a break. Got to have some more Sean Cooley on for y'all. Here is Feel Live, featuring Randy Sanders by Sean Cooley. Y'all check it out. We'll be right back after the break.
had a dream that you and I will be together. I'm Martin Luther King, you will be Coretta. I'll be the king, you're my queen forever. I had a small taste of it, I'm a fiend for heaven. Now let me have you, I love you, don't you know that? Goodbye letter written in my notepad. It was signed by you really wrote that. P.S. I ain't never gonna come back. Baby, look, I know we had our differences, but I've been thinking hard. I'm tired of leaving voicemails, why don't you ever call? I've been working on a car ever since you've been gone, and if it ever starts, I'ma find where you are. That made me insane. Do you feel good about yourself? What you think is a game? I've been under everything except the pain I've obtained. It's like I only take cash, cause I feel I can't change.
I can see you no more, no matter how hard I try. How hard I try. I can deal with that, it makes me feel alive. Feel alive.
Real quick. I still crave you. They can talk, they can put me in the labels. They were watching when I was on the tables, when I was hiding nighttime, providing the aim. I'm telling you, I nearly killed myself. Handguns on my temple, I wanted to stop. I really felt there was no life left. You tainted my soul, is that what you want? You're the only one I really ever had. You were my first, I'll make you my last. Remember, we were filling to the top of the glass. Then let the whole night pass. But enough of the past, we've been apart for a while, like I loosen my grasp. I'm a student to prove, and I'm pushing past all the wrath. Now I'm choosing my path.
I can see you no more, no matter how hard I try. How hard I try. I can deal with that, it makes me feel alive. Feel alive.
And we're back here on the Stank of the South radio show. I'm Chandler Morrison here on TSSN Online Radio. If you're tuning in, I just want to tell you, talking about Chattanooga and the sports culture surrounding Chattanooga, you have to look over and you say, you know what? It's a sport town. It's not. Everybody over the summer, right before football started, everybody was like, oh, it's a soccer town now. Soccer is evolving. Soccer is making Chattanooga a soccer town. If you're watching, I'm looking at the TV right now, laughing. Not that I don't like soccer. I enjoy watching a CFC match. I do. I love watching CFC football because it's kind of the gateway to soccer. Okay. And the reason I love watching CFC is because you look over and it's just these players who are making Chattanooga famous, who are making Chattanooga a famous icon internationally. I mean, there are teams internationally, they're looking at Chattanooga now, and they're like, whoa, Chattanooga's got soccer. They know how to play soccer. They went to the NPSL finals 2 years in a row now, which is their league. That's the national finals. They've won 2 region titles, I believe. And they lost to New York teams twice. Why? Because they're in New York. They've got everybody they would ever want for it. And they've got the money. They've got the talent. And you just can't beat that sometimes. You just can't beat that. 2 years in a row lost to a New York team. But everybody's like, soccer. Chattanooga's turning a soccer town. Look across the board. It's a sports town in general. They get around their sports, not just soccer. Football. When was the last time you saw football, fans for football like you do in Chattanooga? You ever been to a Marion County game? You ever been to a Sequatchie County game? You ever went to, I don't know, Baylor McCallie? You seen the crowds there? Huge. Now, I will say this. Football has huge crowds, huge backing, but it doesn't have the talent that other sports in the area have. It doesn't have the backing that soccer does. It doesn't have the backing that wrestling does as far as talent is concerned. Basketball is about to go big in the Chattanooga area. Central's about to make a state run and put Chattanooga on the map, I believe. I think Brainerd can make a run too, but I think right now it's Central's ballgame. Until Brainerd proves to me they can beat Central and some other teams, I'm not convinced about Brainerd. Not they're not a great team. Not they won't make a state tournament. They probably will. But I don't think right now they're not better than Central is across the board. And soccer has, the talent coming in. Okay, I'm not saying, and by the way, Chattanooga soccer's been pretty good over the years for high school. Have you seen CCS, Notre Dame? Boys and girls soccer both dominant. Yeah, they may lose in the state championships, but they're losing to teams in Knoxville, okay? Teams in Knoxville. Private schools in Knoxville. That's the only people they're losing to, okay? That's it. Okay, soccer in Chattanooga is evolving. Chattanooga soccer. I covered the women's soccer team for UTC this year. They were doing really good for their program. Now, they didn't get a SoCon title. No, they didn't even get out of the first round, but they've improved tremendously over the year. Tremendously. Last year, not having like 2 wins. I think they have 4 or 5 this year. Tremendously. Soccer, a win is a win, and it makes you better. I think soccer is evolving. It's turned into a sport. But you got to look across the board. It's not just football, soccer, basketball. Chattanooga is a wrestling town. Chattanooga is a wrestling town. You know where the top 4 public programs are in the state of Tennessee? Probably. You know where the top 4 programs are? Okay, you got 4 of the top 10 public school programs. I'll say that. Hickson, Notre Dame, Bradley Central, Cleveland. Yeah, period. And let me tell you something. A lot of other teams could probably be in that top 10 if, and I'll say Central and Bradley and Cleveland are top. like 1-2, 1-2-3, somewhere in there. Okay? Hickson, Notre Dame, probably 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there. I'll say that much. And then you got other programs in the area that are successful, but they're never going to be successful on their level because you can only advance, I think, in the AA division, you can only advance one team per district, 2 teams per region. You can only advance, in the upper one, you can only advance 2 out of that region in the AAA region. So Saudi Daisy, they're probably in the top 5 in the state, but they can't compete on a dual level because they have Cleveland and Bradley Central in their region. Red Bank Central could compete on a dual level, but they can't do that because of Hickson, Notre Dame. You've got the top programs in the state that can't even go to state because there are better programs in there, in their region. Softball is tremendous. 7 teams, count them, 7 teams across the board went to the state tournament last year for Chattanooga. 7 teams. And you had an 8-team bracket for all divisions. So, I mean, across the board, Chattanooga pretty dominant in sports. Not dominant in sports, but some of these other sports they're dominant in. Chattanooga has softball. Chattanooga softball is really good. They consistently get to the NCAA tournament, which is about as good as they can do for a mid-major softball team. Okay? Chattanooga softball is excellent. Excellent. Several players in there, excellent. Tennessee softball, pretty dang good. Pretty dang good across the board. Chattanooga softball, superb. They've got 2 softball facilities, 2 huge softball facilities right here in the Chattanooga area. You got Warner Park, okay, which is the gimme, okay. Everybody's got to have a good park. Then you got Ooltewahs Park. I forget what it's called. It's gonna bug me because I don't know what it's called. And that's gonna bug me too because I keep getting the wrong keyboard here. I'm sorry. And yes, I will look up stuff in the middle of the show. So I mean, I believe I can't think of what it's called. The Summit of Softball Complex. The Summit. That's what it's called. The Summit. Excellent facilities. Okay. In fact, I would. If you saw that on camera, I just dropped my microphone. No, I'm not done with what I'm saying here. I promise you. But when you look over, it's they have 2 big complexes. Okay. If it were, and the reason they won't do it is because it's not central location of the state. But they should have wrestling in Chattanooga. They should have softball in Chattanooga. Okay? The championships for TWSAA. And a lot of people are like, I don't know about that. Yeah, they need to have them for both. Let me tell you why. When your area is good at wrestling and great, I mean, superb, head and shoulders above everybody else, you deserve to host. Softball, you deserve to host. Softball really, really good in Chattanooga area. Sequatchie County, good. Marion County, great. Grundy County, good. Baylor, good. Great. Spectacular, Baylor is. GPS, great. It comes down to Baylor and GPS in the private school league every single year. Every single year. Ooltewah, great. Walker Valley was a win away from going to the state tournament. Literally, I believe it was 11 innings. They were a run away from going to the state tournament. Central, great team in the state tournament. I think other teams could have been there too. Central, a great team. And then you've got these lower class teams. You got Sale Creek, Meigs County, all great softball teams. Let me tell you something. Chattanooga is not a soccer culture. Chattanooga is not a football culture. Chattanooga is not a softball culture. Chattanooga is not a wrestling culture. It's a sports culture that people can't understand. From the high school level all the way up, it's just a sports culture town. Now, if you ask me in the future what it will go to, now I'm not saying soccer will go to that. Everybody's like, well, soccer may not be here now, but it's going towards soccer. check again. When you look at football, basketball, soccer, wrestling, and softball, who has the biggest advantage in the future? Going into the future, who has the biggest advantage that can take over the city? That's basketball. Why? Because you've got great high school teams. You've got a great high school basketball teams. You've got a great women's and men's team at the college level. It's so many things going on. So many things going on with basketball, okay? And I think when you look across the board, you have to say, yeah, basketball. Second, probably, in the future, second is probably football. Football's on its way. They're on the brink. I think it's going to build up to where football starts to be pretty dominant. Not dominant, but pretty well-liked, pretty winnable. And then, of course, wrestling is always good. But in the future, basketball has the future because and soccer does too. And here's why soccer does, because they have a great pro program. A professional. When you have a great sports program at the professional level, even at the amateur professional level, you're doing good. Okay? At the professional level in Chattanooga, they're doing great. They're doing great. High school level, they're doing great. They're not doing so great at the college level. So you got two great college teams that trumps one good professional team. I think it does. So overall, basketball has the advantage in the future if you're talking about sports culture in Chattanooga. And by the way, I think I'm a big fan of wrestling. I think wrestling will be the dominant sport of Chattanooga. Or softball will be the dominant sport. Wrestling will always be there, but softball will be the dominant sport as far as a popular sport. Wrestling's not so popular. It's hard to watch. I see where people come from. It's hard to watch. It's hard to watch wrestling. No, it's hard to watch wrestling on a consistent basis. It's easier to watch softball on a consistent basis. I understand that. I like softball better than I do baseball. Definitely like softball better than I do baseball because it's fast-paced. You just keep going. You know, it's not as slow as baseball. Baseball's a slower game. They wind up the pitch. They got to take their time. They got to eye everything out. Softball, let's pitch the game. They got to eye everything out. But to see women, they have this thing with them that they can look around within a millisecond. They've got everything they need to know. They pitch the ball. They got that reaction time that men don't have sometimes. Not making this a sexist thing, not making this, but women just have it over. I think that's why softball is king. That's why softball is king. And I think they'll continue to be king as we go along. But I think wrestling will always have a place in Chattanooga's heart. It will always have a place in Chattanooga's heart. And that's just how everything goes. I mean, I can't change that. No one can change that. You know, and that's just the way it's going to go. And softball is going to be this little bit that everybody loves. Everybody loves to watch. Wrestling, it's going to be a good sport. They're going to be successful. They're not going to have the fans as everybody else. So it's time for our extra point.
I tried just one chili and it set my mouth on fire, and I had to drink a 2-liter of Mountain Dew.
And I got to start that segment out with that little sound bite every single time. I have to. I want to talk about the presidential race for a second. And this doesn't have to do with sports. I think this is something that needs to be addressed. That, you know, I was watching, you know, I didn't want to get to watch the debate on Tuesday night because I cover sports. But I do think that the GOP is going to win this year. And I kind of put it as a contest between GOP and Democrats. I'm a very, very conservative person. I know that. But I just don't see sometimes how policies go. Okay, gun control. You can't control guns. You cannot control guns. I'm a citizen. You cannot control guns. Okay, I can tell you from experience, you can't control guns. You do that in the South, you're going to have an uprising. Okay, not that I want to see that. I want to see everybody together. I want to see everybody on the same page. I don't want to succeed from the union or something like that. But I think gun control is a big issue right now. And by the way, these terrorist shootings. Liberals will push their agenda anytime a shooting comes around saying, we need more gun control. No, you know what we need? We need more people with a gun on the side that can stop it, okay? I saw a story the other day. Didn't make national headlines. It was a story, though, that was circulating on Facebook among the conservative groups. This story was about a school shooting that was stopped by an SRO officer. He shot one person. SRO officer shoots him. Done. Shooting over. Did that make the mainstream news? No, because it didn't have 15 children dead. It couldn't push the liberal agenda. We can't do that. And I'll stick to sports because I know I'm not most well qualified for this, but it just doesn't make sense. You can't tell me to push gun control. You can't do that after a shooting. In fact, that's going to make me want to go out and get another gun so I can protect myself against somebody who's going to take my guns. All right? I know I sound redneck when I say that, oh, you're not going to take my guns. But let me tell you something. It just does not make sense how you would want to take somebody's guns. Let me tell you why. The only reason you want to take someone's guns away so you can have power over them. Okay. First of all, the government wants power over us. Okay, that's why they would take the guns away if that's what they wanted. Which government always wants power, no matter what you look at it, how you look at it. Government always wants power over everybody's lives. They would rather not have freedom. They would rather have power. Okay. Not saying that's the way this country's going, but if they do that, that's the direction they're headed. And so, if you take the guns out of the people who they're registered to. Who, these good, hard-working people, the criminals are going to find them any way they go. I mean, it's still going to go around in the white market. You take them away from blue-collar dad who works 5-6 days a week, comes home, works hard for his money. You take it away from him, you know what's going to happen? Somebody who hadn't worked a day in their life goes in there and steals all his stuff because he's got a gun, and he shoots the guy, and he's in the hospital, and he can't pay for the bills because you know what? Someone shot him. And you know what? He can't work, so he can't pay the bills. And you know what? Someone just stole from him all his life's work. That house. He stole stuff from there. He stole the money. He stole valuables from that house. It amazes me. Absolutely amazes me sometimes how we can be about gun control and that kind of thing. That's my little extra point for the day. Just remember, you take them out of the good man's hands, they're going to find their ways to the criminal's hands either way it goes. So it's just a lose-lose situation. Terrorists came in, started shooting at UTC over here. You know what I'd do? I would want my gun on me. You know why? Because I want to shoot him back. I'm not getting shot when I could shoot him back. Point blank, period. Point blank, period. That's it for the Stank of the South radio show today. I'm Chandler Morrison here with TSSN Radio. God bless and go Vols. I guess that's all you can say. I'm going to send y'all out today on what did I send y'all out on today? Mind Right with Sean Cooley featuring Harrison Murphy. We'll see y'all. And by the way, before we go on, I want to say that this is my last show for the year. I won't be doing another show till January, maybe not till mid-January, just because everything's going to be busy, hectic with the new semester coming in, and I may have to schedule a few things around. So just stick with me, and I'll try to update y'all. I may do some quick takes every once in a while, get my microphone set up, talk, do it on our Facebook page. So go like our Facebook page, the Stank of the South Sports Show, and we'll have quick takes on there. We're going to try to do that a little bit while I'm taking this time off from the show because I really do want to do the show, but I just don't have the time and I don't have the, some of the things I need to do the show over this holiday season. So we'll see y'all later. God bless and go Vols. Here's Mind Right, Sean Cooley featuring Harrison Murphy.
Trying to get my mind right.
I've been up all night trying to get my mind right.
Mind right, heard you sleeping on me, homie. Tell them haters night night. Taking shots at the kid, but I aim at the right height. Won't mess with my dogs, know that they might bite like Riding to the battle if they wanna come and get it. The storm they better weather. I'm a veteran. Tell them that I'm ahead of them, and never will I settle until I receive the credit. What you know, man? When I'm spitting, we divided by truth. You couldn't hang if I tied you a noose. Look, ain't no way that you can walk on my shoes. They too big. What you think? Boy, you out of the loop. I'm from the backwoods, but I rap good. I'm the top one. You're not one. I got the flow when they feeling mine. I keep it popping like a sawed-off shotgun. About to hit the nation, low count and high. Hold up, am I really that nice? Alright, flow too, go, give a rappers frostbite. If you wanna come and get it, I promise that you will end up wearing no red, something like a stoplight. Mine right, I ain't trying to be a southpaw. 2 jabs at the dome with a shoe foul. 3 stars in a circle from the south, yo. I'm making moves, they be asking where the U-Haul.
And I know that they want it. They will never take it from me. I've been up all night, just trying to get my mind right. Ambition doesn't start in a dream. I've been up all night, trying to get my mind right. I've been up all night, trying to get my mind right. I've been up all night, trying to get my mind. I've been up all night, trying to get my mind right. I've been up all night, trying to get my mind right. I've been up all night, trying to get my mind right. I've been up all night, trying to get my mind. I've been up all night, trying to get my mind right.
My heart right, but my mind wrong. Never cared about a clock, was the time gone? I'm only 20 years old and I've been looking for gold, but never thought that maybe I should turn the light on. Yeah, had a little weed, did a little time. Never was a thief, never hit a line. Always made up an excuse to justify. Back in my brain was saying change was left behind. Last chance, do I punt or do I go for it? 4 down and I got nothing to show for it. Marshawn Lynch in the backfield, down set hut, beast mode, move the chain forward. Hold my D in the end zone, 3rd-degree burns on the paper that my pen's on. Go ahead and set your own pace, but I've been gone. Bad talking broads that banished me to the friend zone. Down to half a bottle of Benadryl. Couldn't catch a Z if it was popped in the center field. Beats on my head and it gives me a better feel than if I were to drink a 5th and basket another pill. Nothing can relate to the mental state. Getting kinda late, I should take a break. Sight!
And I know that they want it. They will never take it from me. And I've been up all night, just trying to get my mind right. Ambition doesn't start in a dream. I've been up all night, trying to get my mind right. I've been up all night, trying to get my mind right.